Hi, it's another wonderful Saturday afternoon, and we are bringing you the first edition of Heart to Heart Conversations. You'll agree with me that in the social media space, conversations around marriages and relationships are usually negative and discouraging. For that, many young people interested in entering into the arena of marriage are usually discouraged and have developed cold feet. We Heart to Heart Conversation seeks to change this narrative by introducing the successes and the good stories marriages continue to chalk. And so, you are welcome. I am particularly happy to have my very own godfather, Dr. Sani Abdulai, and his Dr. Mohammed Sani Abdulai and his wife, Aja Zainab, to join us in today's edition of Heart to Heart Conversation. I don't want to, give you spoilers, but by the time you finish watching this video, you'll understand why I am honored to have them on the first edition of Heart to Heart Conversations. The questions are going to be interesting and also deep. But before we set into the conversation around the story about how they met and how far they've come together as a couple, we must first understand what marriage is in our cultural context, and of course, as Muslims as they are, and some of you are, what marriage is in our Islamic context. Then we can set the ball rolling. Thank you. If this is your first time, click the notification bell and subscribe to my channel so that you won't miss out on subsequent episodes. You are welcome.
Thank you.
I am so honored and happy to have you on my show. And I'm also just particularly honored with how last week we tried making it and various activities prevented us. But we are here again, and I'm so happy to have you on the channel.
We are also happy to be on the program.
Great.
Yeah, glad to be here too.
I'm happy to have you. So first, and I'll start with you. So Mohammed Sani Abdullah is an educationist, and I like to describe him as an unapologetic advocate of information technology. He's currently the president of Lakeside University, and he continues to mentor young people and people around him to be the best versions of themselves. His wife, Hajia Zainab, is also an educationist and the founder of Zamsa Academy. Hajia is so passionate about grooming children into very productive and ethical people, future leaders. And so I think this inspired your decision to start the school.
Very true.
I am honored to have you once again. Okay, doctor, let's start with you. When we talk about marriage in the Islamic sense, what are we talking about? What does marriage entail?
Okay, marriage, the word for marriage, the Arabic word for marriage is nikah. Okay. And it's supposed to be, it's a union of two, male and female.
Okay.
And usually facilitated by the Islamic clergy.
Okay.
And witnessed by members of the two families, or two witnesses each from each side, and they come together, and usually in a masjid,
Okay.
to bring about the union through going through various steps. The first being that agreeing that the bride's family or the groom's family approached the bride's family to seek the hand of the bride in marriage, and that is established,
Okay.
right? And it's also established that they have accepted
Okay.
to give out their daughter
Okay.
to the other family to give to their son, to have this union,
Okay.
right? So marriage is supposed to bring about a partnership
Okay.
between a male and a female,
Okay.
but it also goes on to bring about extend the family,
Okay.
right? So if I marry into if somebody marries into another family, that family also becomes part of his family. So it extends the family, right?
Yeah.
And this partnership is supposed to last for life. Okay, and that is if that marriage receives the blessings of, first and foremost, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also the blessings of the two families, right? It runs for their lifespan, right? And it doesn't end there. That partnership extends to the Jannah.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. So, Doc, what is then the objective and purpose of this union?
Okay. The objective is to, when Prophet Adam alayhi salam was put in the garden,
Yeah.
he was alone, solitude.
Yeah.
Okay, supposed to bring about solace.
Okay.
Okay, and partnership.
Yeah.
So that's the primary
Yeah.
objective,
Yeah.
the companionship.
Partnership.
Okay, and it's also secondly, the second objective is to continue creation for procreation, right? And it's also supposed to bring about mutual support,
Okay.
between the couple,
Yeah, couple.
right? And a host of other interesting things like the characteristics of that is one, the fear of that is more or less it's an ibadah.
Ibadah, okay.
Okay, it's which has been if you will go into the Quranic verses, they tell you that it's an ibadah which is supposed to bring about this union,
Yeah.
and also which is highly recommended by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? That's one. Secondly, once you go into this union, you can sustain it. How do you sustain that? There are certain ingredients that should be part of that process. Okay, so the marriage, the relationship should be interlaced with one, the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so there are verses in the Quran that talks about. Secondly, the love. There should be love between the two hearts. There should be mercy. Okay, and there should be kindness. Okay, but it goes on to say that you could also have mutual respect.
Mutual respect.
Okay.
Okay.
And also you should sometimes show some compassion, and a whole host of other things, right?
Okay, so we've then established the basis and the background of the concept of marriage, especially in the Islamic sense. Now let's get into you and Ajia. And I remember somewhere in 2017 when we were working together at Hatch Board, and those were the days of the late nights that we would stay at the later in the night and stuff. There's this particular experience I fondly remember, and anytime I do, I smile. There was this day we were running late as usual, and I think Ajia tried reaching you, but she wasn't getting you. And I remember what we were doing then. We were doing Flight Manifest, and we were so engrossed in it. Then I was holding your phone doing something for you, and Ajia message dropped. And my eye was inquisitive. I could see that what it read then was, just answer the call. I want you to answer the call and I'll know that you are okay. Then I would sleep. Up till now, it got to me, and I remember saying a prayer then, that instant, that, Ya Allah, give me this kind of wife who would care about me this much. The question is, how did you get there? How did your story begin? How did you meet? What was your first interaction as a couple? How did you meet? I'll start with you.
Yes. This was, funny enough, not in Tamale, but in Cape Coast.
Oh, wow. Okay. This is where the story gets interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
I visited my uncle, may his soul rest in peace, Alhaji Ibrahim Adam,
Okay.
School of Agric.
Okay.
I just after writing my O level, his wife was to have the second child.
Okay.
He had traveled.
Okay.
And there was a need for me to be with my auntie.
Okay.
To help her through.
Okay.
So getting there, my uncle had also traveled to Ethiopia. Okay. I think for a conference. Okay. Which was about a month-long program. And getting there, Dr. Mohammed Sani Abdulais, then I called him MS. To stand for Mohammed Sani. Okay. He was then put in charge of my uncle's house. Okay. Before I arrived. Right. Yes. And yes, he was caretaker. Okay. My auntie happened to have been his classmate. Okay. In secondary school. So that was where we met at first. There was no turn like this is going to happen. Okay. Yeah. Just casual. There was casual. Okay. He is my uncle's friend, I would say. Okay. Yes. But with time, he was on campus. Mm-hmm. But would come in to check on my auntie and the little boy. And yeah, that was when it started. Okay. One day, okay, I want to show you, around. Okay. And we went towards, we were at Pegu. Okay. Then we went towards Wesley Girls, where he showed me. This is the famous Wesley Girls school. Okay.
That was preparing the ground.
That was I wanted to accept. It wasn't just you being friendly, or you had a motive.
No, I didn't have any motive. I didn't have any motive. Yes.
You were just preparing the ground.
Yes, I just wanted her to, I haven't come from Tamale maybe the first time. Okay. Instead of being indoors all the time. Okay. She should go around and see the environment, get to know this town. Okay. Well, so that was the objective.
So at what point did you feel like, okay, maybe I should begin looking at her beyond trying to show her around, but futuristic? At what point? When was the turning point for you?
I don't remember exactly, but it did happen. Yeah, all right. Okay. So first, as she mentioned, the auntie was my classmate in Tamasco. So I told her that, look, I've graduated, I'm a faculty intern now, and I have the next thing to do is to look for a partner. Okay. So this was a recommendation. So, well, what about this? I said, okay, I'll consider that. Oh. Right. So we started communicating after I left. Okay. And communication those days was not like today. There was no email system. Mm-hmm. Well, there was email system, but the email system was, that was there even before the internet came internet came in here. Yeah. It was confined to the academic networks. Okay. Through the Unix system. Okay. And only very few people had access to that kind of technology. Okay. So the only way we used to communicate was letter writing, having pen pals. Okay. Letter writing, depending upon where it is going, you could be either a postcard, okay, or an airmail. Okay. Yeah. So it was going across borders. We use an airmail. Right. It was just internal communication. We just needed to write on a paper and put it in an envelope, address it, and send it.
Mommy, which of those letters or postcards you received, which one do you remember well, and what was your first impression of it?
Well, there's a funny story regarding the airmail. Okay. Because my uncle, who used to work at then Women's Training College, presently Tamale, okay, Training College, he used to I used to, I mean, the address was through him to me.
Okay.
And that was when one day he said, "My daughter, you've been getting letters from a particular address.
Okay.
And usually, if any guy approached me, I was that naive. I'll go and tell him.
Oh, okay.
So and so
Okay.
had approached me.
Okay.
And he would say, concentrate on your education.
Education.
But this particular one, I never really informed him.
Okay.
It was just the letters.
Okay.
And that was what made him to ask me.
Okay.
And I said, "Oh, do you remember Mr. Sani?" And he was there for the outdooring.
Outdooring.
So, yes. And I said, it's him who has been writing to me. Now he's in Nigeria.
Okay.
And he has been writing to me. So, yes. Usually they don't just go ahead to say, "I love you" or something.
Okay.
It's just a communication. Until after some time, you will maybe getting to the end. What do we call it? The concluding part.
Yeah.
Then, "Love you."
Okay. I see. Do you remember some of the did you have the sight of you has made my heart to jump from whatever.
Well, that was
That way.
no, I didn't put it that way. If she's here to confirm that, but that used to happen.
Oh, I see.
That's they'll write a letter, and all kinds of
The brightness of the sun.
Exactly. Oh, wow. Oh, wonderful. Oh, wonderful. I see.
Yes.
Interesting. So, the other bit I want to ask again is, throughout your journey, and first I want to find out how long you've been married.
We got married in 1985.
Hey, today you've done well.
She knows exactly the dates.
Oh, okay.
27 September.
September.
These days, don't forget these days.
I know. Right.
Okay. I see.
But
So,
unfortunately or fortunately, I wasn't home
for the marriage, for the
wedding ceremony.
Okay.
So it was a simple marriage.
Okay.
I was away in Nigeria. I was then teaching in Kaduna Polytechnic.
Okay.
In northern Nigeria.
Okay.
Kaduna.
Okay.
So the marriage, after the families approached, my family approached her family, and it was agreed, and the dowry was paid.
Okay.
The nikah happened, and I was represented by my brother.
Okay.
And the marriage took place.
Okay.
And a friend who was coming to Nigeria came along with her.
Brought your prize.
Yes.
Your jewel.
Yeah.
The brightness of your sunshine. Okay. So over time, over this period, do you, maybe this may seem contemporary, do you have a way of celebrating your anniversary, or is there anything special on this day, or over time, how have you remembered this day?
Well, I think it's always been a family reunion.
Oh, okay.
Where we bring the whole family together for a meal and other things, celebrate. So we just keep it simple.
Just keep it simple.
Then the most exciting was when we gained 30 years in marriage.
Okay.
This was in 2015.
Oh, okay.
That was when our children felt, this time, instead of just celebrating here, let's get to where we will actually do it and know we are very close to Almighty Allah.
Okay.
And so we went for Hajj.
Oh, mashallah.
And yes, I should have come with the pictures maybe after this when we go
Yes,
to
I'll
our,
get the pictures.
Yes.
And show to you. Yeah.
It was very beautiful to me. The children having that thought, let's do something, to really celebrate these people.
Yeah.
And yes, we went for Hajj, and just after we were done with Hajj activities, I think it fell on the same day, 27th September.
Mashallah.
Then he came into our hotel room with Professor Abdulais, then rector of what's the name?
Tamale Technical
Tipali. Yes. And just as we were having to wish each other
anniversary,
yes, then he had a shot of us.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And it was really beautiful.
I'll get that picture as well. I'll get that picture. So, given that you were away from Ghana, working in Nigeria, and newly married and all, how were you able to juggle this experience with marital life? And I'm particularly asking Mommy this question. How were you able to migrate in that sense, or just transition from Ghana, for example, and then starting a whole new life in Nigeria with the love of your life, and perhaps exploring the opportunities that maybe Nigeria will provide them, and maybe childbirth as well? How did all that play out, and how were you able to effectively manage it?
I think we are talking to the young men and women out there at the moment. It all starts from your childhood.
Okay.
If you help in the house chores, caring for your younger brothers and sisters, it prepares one for life.
Okay.
Yes, it prepares one for life. I remember this my cousin that I had to go in to help.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm glad to say I was present when he came out.
Okay.
Yes, and by then I had already had some experience with childcare.
Childcare, okay.
Helping my bigger sisters. And their children. Mm-hmm. So it's like I was already kind of prepared for it. Yes. Okay. I think the only time it was a bit difficult for me was when I had the first child.
Okay.
And even holding the baby as it is, I was so afraid I may drop her and that kind of thing. I had to be careful.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Mommy, I want to stay on that just so that for new mothers.
Yeah.
How then did you overcome that fear, so to speak? First experience with your own child and feeling how fragile the child is in your hands. How were you able to overcome that fear or feeling?
So that one, being a mother is a natural thing. Yeah. So I took it up from there. After usually yes, it's time.
Yeah.
Someone has to do the bad thing and all that.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And after 2 weeks, the person had to leave Nigeria for Ghana.
And then they had to completely take over.
Yes.
Okay.
And I also had a friend, Sadia, may her soul rest in peace too. She came in, and yes, it was not easy battling the baby, because even if you have practiced certain things, that one was never practiced. And so we helped each other out.
Sure.
And then, yeah.
Doug, marriage was new to you, and like everybody, for the first time you are getting married, there's a new environment you are stepping in. Did you have some form of anxiety, so to speak, some form of fear, or even anticipation, something you were really looking forward to, and how were you able to manage these feelings?
Well, as we mentioned earlier on, first of all, you need to commit your relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. And through prayers. Okay. And we know with prayers or dua, everything is possible. Okay. So there was that anxiety. I remember our first child, she developed a cold.
Okay.
And in trying to help her ease this thing, we give her, she inhaled Was it eucalyptus?
Yeah, it was congestion.
Congestion. We talked to clear the congestion. These are first time parents, okay? But I think the dose was too much.
Oh, okay.
And she was convulsing. So we had to, from the little signs that we know, we had to rush her out to the open space.
Okay.
And that's what saved the situation. So that she could. And these were some of the incidents that occurred for we as first timers, right?
Yes.
Sometimes then I would wish I had my baby back home in
Tamale, where you would have immense love, immense people to help.
So because the grannies will be there to take care, to do the bathing and everything, but I think it was an experience worth going through. Okay. It was a learning process, but I think we by Allah's grace, yes.
Okay. The other bit I am interested in. At what point, mommy, did you ever feel like, yeah, Allah, thank you for giving me this man? Do you remember any event that just made you feel like, oh, now, what were the events and how did you feel about it?
So many events. Coming back from Nigeria, he had to go to school in Norway. Okay. And I came to stay in Tamale. The fact that he did not say, okay, you stay till I'm done with my course. Okay. And then when I come home, we can continue. I think we were apart for 1 year.
1 year.
Yes. After which, plans were on the way, get your passport and all that. And then I joined him. Okay. Yeah. But one other, which is somewhere in 2006 till date, having been sick and the support, I believe, is one thing that has kept me alive till now. The support. Because what I went through, I've heard stories of other women, they go through it and they don't get support from, especially their husbands. Yeah. And even they divorce. But we are still on. Yeah. More than 15 years now since the ailment. Yeah.
Wow.
So I am always very grateful to the Almighty that we are all healthy and alive and continue to support each other.
Doc, how about you? At what time or what particular event did you feel like, yeah, Allah, thank you for giving me this wife, this woman as a wife?
Well, I think it also borders on that kind of mutual support. Okay. And she's very caring, very understanding. Okay. And you observe that she's always smiling.
Yes, I see that always. Yes.
Right. So it was also a situation where I also find myself in a difficult situation. Okay. And she was there to render that kind of support.
Would you, as humans, and in fact, Allah tells us in the Quran that He has tested those before us, and so He will test us as well. How did you overcome some of the tests that you encountered as a couple, and what lessons did those tests teach you?
Well, we've gone through so many tests, and that is natural. If you're a believer, you will always be tested. Okay, and several of them.
Would you mind sharing one?
Right, like she mentioned, the sickness she got. I don't know whether she doesn't want to divulge that.
Everybody knows. People know it.
She had cancer.
Breast cancer.
Cancer, and during the second phase, during the course of the treatment, I think I went to Korea. Okay. Yeah, but that didn't break the communication between. Okay. And I think on the eve or on the day of the
day just before theater,
I had to call. To pray with her.
That has always happened. no matter the distance. As long as the phone is there, yes.
Always called to pray. So the key words here is be present in terms of communication, and then be present in terms of spirituality and godliness.
Yes.
Wow. This is Julius, you're learning, Abby. Okay, that is fantastic. One thing I enjoy about your family is how you've raised your children. The last time I visited during Ramadan, something profound. I saw each of them, epitomize the teachings of the Bombers in terms of respect. How you get a guest and you show up to say hello in your natural form, establishing the principles of every Dabon family. And still again, yet you are a very elite family in the sense that highly educated family. How have you managed to ensure that education and exposure doesn't become a hindrance to continuity in the culture and teachings of the children, in the upbringing of the children, especially in the area in terms of respect, humility, because your family has always epitomized humility and respect.
Yeah, but I think we draw that from the teachings of the Quran and the Hadith, that you should respect elders, you should honor guests, right? And even the ground traditions and customs, right? So being educated doesn't mean that you should compromise your culture, traditions, and customs. And we see it happening these days.
Yes.
And I think we need to caution the youth that I remember my grandfather used to say, I would rather say the truth and go hungry. But we don't see that these days. We compromise those values, the value systems. And if you compromise your values, then you're going to lose out. You'll be lost. You get lost. Okay? And the influence sometimes of the Western media leads to that compromise of our values and traditions, which I think doesn't augur well for our existence, and as well as our identity as a people. Right? So there's a need for us to revisit that and see how we could sustain those values, and traditions and customs, both Islamic values as well as our cultural values as well.
For me, still on the children, I also see that they are very highly educated. I like to use the word highly educated, and so informed, so exposed. How did you get that happen? Because I think education and exposure is not a given. You have to nurture it, you have to build it, you have to put it together to work. Over time, how did you manage to achieve this in your children?
We can only say it's through Allah. And we never stop praying.
Yeah.
We keep praying to Allah to guide us as to how to handle them. And of course, we shouldn't just say they should obey what we think is right.
Okay.
If they bring something that we think no, it isn't, we let them know.
Okay.
And then they correct themselves.
Okay.
Yeah. But, truly, to talk of maybe beating a child to do what you want,
Okay.
that is out. Yes, I can use my eyes to talk and then they understand me.
I think every mother has that effect.
Yeah.
I remember.
But you're forgetting that you are talking to educators.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, so that if there's a saying is that in the Mali that you cannot be selling shea butter
And then
and your skin will be dry.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it has to start from home, right? If I want to teach some other children, okay, I have to start from me. I should have a reference point, okay? And education, transforms, right? Right? And through education, you can transform society, right? So, as teachers or educators, there's no gainsaying why we had to toe that line. At the early stages, we gave them that direction and guidance to learn to read novels. Not these days where everybody goes on social media. At that, whether the reading culture still exists, right? It's dying. So we had a library in the house. Anytime I go out to see a good book, I'll buy and put, and we introduce them to reading, okay? And they could read a novel in 1 week or a couple of days, right? And any good novel. So all you mentioned, all the series, they have gone through those ones. So that culture of reading is embedded in the family, right? And they also appreciating and valuing education. It's also we think that the best gift you can give a child is education. I may not have have properties here and there, but we are comfortable with what we have. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
That's true, and that is very profound. I remember one time my mom told me that my grandfather, of blessed memory now, once called them and told them that in the Gbanama Cafe Trea, Fanyela Shukushani Piano, one did champion, one champion, the Kalamba, Uma, and we come back when I'm Pisha to.
Yeah, and also that reminds me, see, our parents never went to school.
Wow.
Right?
Yes.
And if they found it wise to educate us with the little that they had, there's no reason why we as educated people should not educate our people to the highest level.
Wow. So education remains a key. Wonderful. Away from education, back to your relationship as a couple. Maybe prior to getting married or even during marriage, during the journey, what is one of the most important advice you have received that has profoundly impacted positively in your relationship?
Yeah, I would say respect for each other. Yes. These days, people will think I've gone this far and I won't listen to what the other is saying. No. And I have experienced it. There are times when I just say, I'm also going to take this decision by myself. And if he advises against it and I say, I'll try it, when I try, I fail it.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So with that one, I make sure, yes, we discuss. And if it is okay with both of us, then that is it. We go on with it. Yeah.
The mutual respect.
Mutual respect. And you see, and as this is what I called the ingredients of sustaining marriage. One, the advice that go into this marriage with the fear of Allah. Meaning, whatever you do, you should always have Allah fear, but that the consequences it may have. Okay, that's one. And we are told by the Quran, that we should love. Marriage is for love, mercy, and kindness.
Love, mercy, and kindness.
Right?
Yeah.
So I can quote you the verse which says that. So it says that the relation should be based on a mutual cooperation of love, mercy, and kindness for each other, so that they may also enjoy that comfort, pleasure, peace, and happiness right?
Yeah.
That's what it says. So as it says that, let's see. So, and under the philosophy and wisdom, Islam considers marriage a social obligation.
Social obligation.
Okay, so it's a social obligation. It's an art greatly admired by Allah
Wow.
and recommended by His messengers. So this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala admires. So whatever you can do to sustain that marriage, you should do it.
You should do it.
For fear of Allah.
For fear of Allah.
And it's a natural relationship between man and woman. And Quran, glory to Allah who created in pairs.
Okay.
And that's what the Quran says. Glory to Allah who created in pairs all things that the earth produces, as well as their own humankind. He created us in pairs, male and female, from a seed when lodged in its place. Okay. So this we should be guided by this, by the verses of the Quran and the hadiths.
And the hadiths of
Okay.
Rasulullah.
You know.
That's great. Let's say you with all these experiences you've gone through, with all this knowledge and with all these lived experiences, let's assume you were getting married now and today. What advice would you give yourself, your young married self? I'll start with Aja.
Well, I still need to have a respectable man like him.
Okay.
And yes, I would have the marriage over and over. Yes.
Well, I would say for the young ones, when you are going to marriage, seek the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you a woman if you are a man, or a man if you are a woman, who meets those requirements. So you need to find somebody who is compatible, who is understanding, okay, and who exhibits all those attributes that we have discussed, right? And you should. What I did was I consulted my parents, and they consented, right? So as I said, when you marry, as these days people say, I'm married to my wife or to my husband, not to the family. But that is not.
It's a big mistake.
It's a big mistake. Right? So you need to get the buy-in of all the stakeholders in this process if you want your marriage to be blessed.
I remember my father-in-law, I think when I was in PS1, that was at the teacher training college. And his friend, Elijah Idrisu, he was the one who introduced me to the family. And after some time, I went with my friend to Hajarai to greet the family. My father-in-law asked me, you say you are now in school? I said yes. Which class are you? For him to understand, I just said I'm in Form 1. And how long will the course take? I said 3 years. And he was like, I don't want any disgrace.
Wow.
If you know it will work, make it work. If not, because 3 years and he's not in the country. Yes.
And this is when you were already married?
Before we got married.
Before you got married,
yes. Before we got, after meeting in Cape Coast, I came down to Tamale.
To meet your family.
And so the friend he drove, when we were certain, yes, we are going to get married. Then there was a need after talking to them. Yes, they will also question you to know your background and also do the background checks.
Yeah.
That was when I went and he was like, 3 years.
Yeah.
If you know you can't, you just die in Shelby.
Yeah.
And I say, Baba, now Gafara.
Yeah.
Toko TV.
Inshallah. Mashallah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yes. Alhamdulillah. Bisharwa TV, and I continue to admire this, and I remember that particular. Anytime I remember that event, dog, I actually get emotional because I was like, at this age, you still care this much about each other, and all mommy wanted was to know that you are safe, and then you give her peace, and I was like, yeah, Allah, give me this type of wife. It was profound, and I asked myself, will I ever get one? What do I need to do as a man to get one? And I think you best answered it by saying that you need to commit it into Allah, to ask Allah to give you that kind of wife. So today, Allah, again, in the presence of this couple, you need that kind of wife. Amen. Amen.
Okay, and you, as I was saying, you also need to, as I said, there's no usually premarital counseling.
Okay.
The counseling we get during the nikah, it's a 5 or 10 minutes counseling.
Okay.
After the nikah or during the nikah.
Yeah.
But it will be good if we establish premarital counseling. And that's why my university, Lakeside University College, is working on with partners in the US to see if we can launch a program, a chaplaincy program, to train the imams, the Islamic clergy, and counseling. To also involve premarital counseling, counseling during marriage, and what have you, and other aspects. But I have some recommendation I want to make.
Julius, please pass this.
Right. And I will advise anytime I know a couple who are going to, I usually buy these books as my gift to them.
Okay.
So this one,
Gifts to Bride.
Bride.
Okay. So it's for the woman.
For the woman.
Okay.
And this is a gift to the groom. Okay. So these two books spells out your duties and responsibilities as husband and wife. Right?
Yeah.
And this is Kitabul Nikah. Okay.
Of
marriage. Okay. That is also a good reference. So this is in our library.
Okay. So Kitabul Nikah, if you are a young couple or if you are venturing into marriage, look for Kitabul Nikah. Or if you are a woman, look for a gift for Muslim groom. If you are a man, a gift for Muslim groom. Make sure you read this to the latter. And if you are a woman, a gift to bride. These seem to be what has guided Doc and Ajah throughout the over 30, now nearly 40 years.
Almost 4 decades.
Almost 40.
Yeah. And also study the Quran, read the Quran together, and hadith, pray together as a family.
MashaAllah. I think your 40th birthday needs to be flamboyant, because in fact the prophet didn't come to him until he was 40.
That's the age of maturity.
The age of maturity. We need to celebrate it. I'll lead a team of people to celebrate this marriage. The world must see of this marriage. Okay, thank you so much for coming, Doctor. I am super grateful. Thank you so much for coming. This has been a wonderful conversation, and we'll do this again because I feel like there's a lot that we still need to talk about, and there's a lot to learn from this Doctor in Asia. And so if you've not subscribed, please subscribe, and I'll put. Doc, if you want these books, where do
you can get them? Marhaba Bookshop.
Marhaba Bookshop. So
East Legon.
So in East Legon, Marhaba Bookshop, you can get all these books for women, for men, and then Kitabul Nikah for both. Please endeavor to get these books, read them, and learn from them. Doc, I can't thank you enough for making time to appear on my program. I am super grateful. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep blessing you. And I particularly have learned something. You have not told you. I was telling Shamuna the last time that one thing I like and don't like about Doctor is too too patient. Sometimes I remember back in the anime, I'd be like, "Dog, this one there you have to talk." And dog would say, "Hey, now wow." And I continue to learn that from you, to be humble, to be patient. Patience is difficult, but
And that's one of the ingredients of marriage,
yeah.
good marriage. You
Yeah.
need to be patient. Sometimes if you are not patient, you can do things that you later on regret.
Yes. Patience. Thank you so much. Mommy, anything you want to tell our young couple, especially our young people?
We are glad to share. As educators, we are always ready to help nurture. And we pray that the young men and women who are still out there looking for partners, may Allah grant them their rightful partners, not partners who will come and within a short period there are problems and then you want to, back out. No. We pray that you get the right people, and yes, to also respect family. It looks like these days they just find each other outside and they do everything, including the date for marriage. Please, it is important that you get support from your family. If you get that support, and it isn't having a big party that makes the marriage. These days, people marry quietly in the masjid. After Fajr prayer, the two families with the witnesses come in, and that is it. And it's fine. It's fine. So please also take care of yourselves. Yes, those days, communication was very, very, it has always been important. Otherwise, there will be that missing link, and then it will destroy them.
So communicate, be patient, consult family, and involve family, make family the center of your relationship, and commit everything in the hands of Allah, and everything will go in the way of Allah. Thank you so much for watching, and catch you same time next week. Assalamu alaikum.